want to tell you how to use your mind power to get what you want now. I mean, right here in Atlanta, right here in Georgia,
also,
right there, wherever
National
you
Day
are.
of Peace. If I can inspire something within one mind while I'm there, I'd be grateful. If I feel like people are not going to receive what I'm saying, that's what's going to happen, because I've set that forth first in my mind, and now my reality is going to give me exactly what I asked for.
I don't necessarily subscribe to that, but I do think that that's the way in which...
I want to start off by saying you are an eloquent speaker.
Wow. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Feeling golden light, like I'm the...
You're not strong overnight. The more you go.
Right. So today I am bringing up one of my LA friends who flew all the way here from Los Angeles, Mr. JEREL Smith. He is not only an in-depth psychologist, a creative visionary, and entrepreneur. JEREL is the founder of New Aeon. Did I say that correctly? A creative agency and collective that bridges artistry, wellness, and community. With a background in depth psychology, his work explores healing, transformation, and the power of imagination to shape our lives. Through photography, film, writing, and gatherings, JEREL has created spaces where people reconnect with their inner voice, embrace authenticity, and discovers new possibilities for growth. His mission is to inspire individuals and community to walk in the rightfulness of their ownership, living fully, creating bodily, and finding meaning along the journey. Please join me to welcome JEREL to the stage.
Thank you.
Yes. You might just have to click the mic.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, welcome. How do you feel right now? Tell me what's going through your mind.
I feel relaxed. I feel centered. And I feel guided.
Yes, yes. JEREL, our panel right now is to discuss multidimensional lifestyle. You know, you're not one to just be in a square. You're here, you're there, you're a socialite. And if you do not follow JEREL on Instagram, you might want to, because when I tell you the content is going crazy, okay? Creative. So when it comes to being a creative and also being a man of God, how is that journey?
One thing that I'm very sure to do is just allow God to flow through me. And, you know, going deeper into that, I would love to have you all join into something with me where He'll guide you all as well. Is that okay? Yes. So in this moment, I really just want to continue to set the intentions. I see that we all have tea. So if we could just pause for a second and take heed of our breath. Maybe one more time. And now I would like to ask you all to close your eyes briefly with me. In this moment, ask yourself, what is it that I need to hear? And truly think about that. In this moment, how do I feel? There's one word that comes to mind and what I need in this moment. And that word is thank you. So one of the things in terms of interdimensional living that I love to do is to continue to listen to my inner voice. And the brother that just spoke, he often mentioned there was God or something that kept him here. And I like to think, and me and Monty has talked about this before, where if you don't have a good relationship with your inner voice, then you would have given up. But because of the strength that you had with that, you're still here. So I commend you for that. Absolutely.
And I love that. When it comes to that inner voice, because I feel like sometimes I have two voices. I have a soft one and then I have a loud one. Based off your experience, which one is normally the one you should be listening to?
Whew. I feel like God is subtle, so I'm gonna say the softer one. The louder voice sometimes isn't always the one that you want to go with. It's really just taking your time and to reflect, and a lot of times like discerning whose voice it is. You know, I feel like me and my experience, I've been through so much trauma, and maybe several of us have, and we keep those voices in our mind. So when something comes up, we react from that voice, and sometimes we think that that's us, but when we sit with that long enough, you're able to say, that's not me. I would never say that to myself. Or I remember the first time that I felt like this, and who made me feel like that. And you're able to discern whose voices those are and send them back to where they come from.
I like that because we do react from what we've been through, and some things can be very triggering. And when it comes to experience, how have you learned to control your triggers?
I think that it's an everyday process. I can't say that I have it all together one day over the other, but I think being patient with myself and again, continuing to mature that relationship with my internal dialogue, with God, with the universe, whatever we decide to call that, and allowing it to flow through me as opposed to me reacting to everything outside of myself. I like to think that, again, as it relates to interdimensional living, I create from within. So if I can reimagine and recreate from the internal aspect, then I can control almost anything outside of myself because I'm controlling it based on how I'm reacting to it and not necessarily how it may want me to react.
Well said. And I feel like it's very important for us to understand that we do get to pretty much make our lives, it just starts within.
Exactly.
And I think we work so externally, everything is like so physical. What do I have now? Or what we don't imagine and see it first in our mind, you know? And there's times where I have had days where I wake up and I see how my day is going to play out and I know it's going to be a great day. And because I woke up with that energy, I had a great day.
Exactly.
So when did you learn, or when did you start practicing that internal seeing of goodness, or what you were trying to manifest?
I remember being in middle school, and this was like several years ago, and I would just lay in bed and I would cry. And I would cry out of like a burning desire to do exactly what I'm doing right now, to speak and to have a platform and to influence people. And I saw it plain as day, but like it felt like it was so far away. And sometimes my mom would come in my room and she'd be like, what are you crying for? Or like, what's wrong? And I couldn't even articulate why I was crying, but it wasn't because I was angry or I was sad. And shortly, I began to just like speak over my life, not necessarily say that I wish something will happen, but I would say, I know this is going to happen. And I would believe that with every bone in my body. And the moment I would release the idea of how it had to happen or when it had to happen, it will happen right then and there. And that's when I began to realize that I'm manifesting based off of how I'm speaking about it and my ability to release. I think a lot of times when we think of God, we always say like, he's never on time, but he's right on time. And the way that I like to think of that is God is creative, right? And if you have every little detail in like if you have everything aligned in an exact detail, then you don't give God the ability to do what it is that he naturally does, and that's create. Because you told him how it has to happen, when it has to happen by, where you're supposed to move to, and if it doesn't happen, then it's not going to happen. And he's like, son and daughter, how are you going to limit me from doing what I do? Now, like, it's going to seem like it's going to take forever because you've kind of like limited him to what he actually does.
Exactly. And do you feel like also being a black man in America that has also created a stipulation on what you can do and how far you can go with your talents and your dreams?
I would say that I don't necessarily subscribe to that, but I do think that that's the way in which the world would want you to think based off of the programming that we do see. They want you to believe that what they project in front of you is all that you can be. But if that was true, then we wouldn't be here today, you know. We'd be in jail, we'd be locked up, we'd be selling drugs. And we, as black men in the room today, we see that there's so much more that we're capable of doing. And now we're the ones on the front line to show the next generation that there are different modalities of being great and being cool. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be an athlete or be a rapper, but there's so many different opportunities to be successful in. So I would say that I don't necessarily allow that to limit me. And I strive to ensure that I'm being that same embodiment for the next generation.
And how and why are you able to say, I do not subscribe to that?
I think because, again, going back to where we started, that internal voice, I know how to I know how to have a relationship with myself and also to think for myself. And I don't watch TV. I'm not saying that TV is a bad thing, but TV has the ability to control how we view ourselves. But that's not the only mechanism. I think it's also as it relates to the music, anything that like we take in. So having a greater discernment over the things that I allow in my body or that I take in any way, that helps me control how I perceive everything else around me.
And was that something that you learned as you got older, or were you raised to be and have that mindset?
I can't say that I was raised to have that mindset. I just realized that like early on, I was different than most of the black men around me. And I didn't always take that to be a great thing. Like I thought something was wrong with me actually. And the more that I realized that like God is kind of pushing me further away from certain things, he was also platforming me. So then I began to look at myself at all the things that I thought was so wrong about myself, and I began to embrace them. And those were the things that actually allowed me to grow in these gifts and to be able to have discernment and to set myself aside and to know what's right and what's wrong for me.
I definitely understand that. So when it comes down to the youth, and you see how they're being pretty much easily manipulated into certain behaviors, certain actions, you know, they'll go and they'll throw up certain signs. They have no idea why they're walking around with this demonic scripture on their shirts or their foreheads. You know, what advice or what is something that you would tell them to, help them see life differently and to make different choices when it comes to what they're being receptive to and accepting based off the music that they're listening to, the TVs that, shows that they're watching?
I think that's a good question. If I'm honest, I strive to like always to have my own individuality and to always do what I feel I like to do. So I wouldn't necessarily say that there's anything that I would try to tell them to make them change per se. But one thing that I would ask them is their why and their purpose. And if it's not in alignment with their why and their purpose, then what could you do instead of this to be more in alignment with what it is that you desire to do and be?
Definitely understand. And being in like the entertainment world and even living in LA, do you feel like your spirituality has been tested? And if so, in like which ways that you wouldn't mind sharing?
LA is a place where whatever you want to happen can happen. So if I want to go on a corner and scream until I have no voice, I could do that. Why? Because no one knows me and no one actually cares. But at the same time, I can also look at LA and say that like this is a place of opportunity and I think I want to be a billionaire. Well, I'm going to use this place to create these streams of revenue so that I can make that possible just as well as anything else. When it comes to the spiritual aspect, I think that, again, there's so many things that can come your way. And if you don't know who you are and you don't have a strong sense of like a grounded faith or religion or whatever it is that you believe in, something that is greater than you, then you'll say yes to anything.
And you're not from LA, correct?
I am not.
Where are you from?
North Carolina. 85 North.
So being from the South, what even made you want to move to LA?
Again, just as an African American male in my city, it was sports, and I'd say that it was music as well. And I was the computer geek, I was the camera guy, I was a little more flamboyant than most men, so I often felt different. And I've always felt like, man, I belong in like a bigger city. So I initially moved to Chicago. It was way too cold, so I was like, no, that's not it. And then I moved to Los Angeles. Or I will say that God sent me to Los Angeles because I wanted to go directly after college, and it was in the middle of the pandemic. And when I got there, I saw Black men doing everything. I saw Black surfers, I saw Black stylists, I saw Black photographers, hairstylists. I saw Black men doing everything, and they didn't allow that to limit who they were as a person. So it showed me so many different variations of what it means to be a Black man, as opposed to just the rapper or the athlete. And that gave me liberty to be all of what I wanted to be.
Yes, I love that, because what you made a point about is you saw a little bit of yourself being able to do anything, not having the limitations of what certain places will say that, oh, you can only do this in this era. This is what normally your people do. So It was showing us in a more successful realm, which I love. What advice do you have for someone looking to unlock their purpose?
The first thing that comes to mind is sitting with yourself. The more that I spend time with myself, the more that I begin to understand myself, and I begin to understand how I'm supposed to show up in the world, and I allow that to guide me. So to answer your question, I'd say to honor yourself by sitting with yourself, no matter how uncomfortable that can be, because it definitely will be uncomfortable at times. But the longer you sit with that, the more you're going to hear, the more you're going to get downloads, the more God is going to be able to use you, because he knows that you're able to listen and that you're going to follow suit with whatever it is that he asks.
Definitely. How do you feel like you stay centered with everything that goes on in the world and in your life?
By creating my own reality. I think that in this shared space, we're sharing our own reality right now, but I may go back home to different issues or stressors, so you may as well, and everyone else. And with that, it's just like, you never know in terms of like different realities or different things that people have going on in their life. So for me, it's just a matter of creating my own safety net by what it is that I want in my reality. When I go home and I'm in the confinement of my own walls, what does that look like? And it looks like this. I'm talking to my friends. I was just telling him, like, I drink tea all the time. I love to read, and I love to watch things that I feel add to me as opposed to take away.
I love that, definitely. And when it comes to understanding to create boundaries, because we could have friends or associates who come in and they're actually taking from you and you're pouring into them. How, if you went through those experiences, how have you learned to navigate and remove those types of negative energy in your life?
I'm still learning. No, seriously, I think of it like a piece of pie, right? Or a pie. And if I cut this pie into 7 slices, if every day that I leave out my house and I give out a slice, I don't have a slice for myself. So if I cut that pie intentionally, where each day I still have a piece for myself, then I'm never like drained of my energy. But also at the same time, figuring out what it is that pours back into me. Earlier, you all spoke about being in water. So that's one thing for me as well, that it pours right back into me. Whenever I'm around a lot of people, after that, I have to go into nature, because that allows me to cleanse and it allows me to pour back into myself, or for God to pour into me. So, excuse me. So it's really a matter of figuring out the things that contribute back to my own success so that I can do them whenever I give out.
I definitely understand that and respect that, because us as individuals, we're the only people that's really going to know our peace and be able to protect it. Nobody else is going to protect it but us. So it's good to have that knowledge and boundary set.
Yes.
Why is community such an essential part of wellness and legacy building to you?
I don't think, or let me ask the audience, is there anyone that you can think of that's done it alone? I think it's simple as that. I think that we have a lot of bright ideas, and if you want to execute at the level that you truly desire, then it takes other input, it takes other hands, and it takes a team in order for that to happen. And as it relates to the wellness aspect of it, it's like, if you're not careful, that voice inside will lead you to do things that you probably shouldn't do. But when you have a sounding board and you have a safety place and your trusted networks of people that you can share with, then they're able to speak on your behalf or speak into you so that you don't do certain things. So I think that that's also a vital part of having community as well.
Definitely. At this point of seeing how we are as a community, is there anything that you're like, this is what we're good at and this is what we need to work on?
I think we're good at the aesthetic of certain things. Like, we like to say that we love mental health and wellness, but we're not doing this. Like, we're not actually sitting down and talking. It's more of an aesthetic. Or when it comes to support, we support because it looks good and that we can see the motion that people have. But if it can't be seen, then it's just like we're not supporting. In terms of where I feel like we can do better, and I'm saying this even with myself as well, I'm not excluded, is being able to show up authentically.
Being authentically ourselves.
Yes.
And sometimes that can be a struggle for us, especially when we have our own insecurities we don't want to acknowledge. So being able to accept who we are and be okay with who we are.
Absolutely.
And that comes within healing and prayer. You know, we gotta have faith. I think once you lose your faith, you somewhat lose yourself, because we can't own, like you said, how can you do it by yourself?
Exactly.
You need God to make it through these mountains and all these peaks.
Yes.
So what are some things that you would like to share, you would like to leave on this floor for others?
One thing that I would like to leave is just finding ways to build that relationship with yourself, because if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, then it's almost impossible to have a good relationship with other people. And additionally, if you don't have a good relationship with yourself, then it's difficult to articulate how other people can show up for you. A lot of times when we're in relationships, like, we ask people or we tell people how they're supposed to love us. In fact, we don't even know how to love ourselves. So how do we articulate, how do we articulate to other people how to love us without us first learning how to do that for ourselves?
Is there any remarks from the crowd?
I am so sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Give me some tea.
Oh, yes, please.
Thank you. I want to start off by saying you are an eloquent speaker.
Wow,
And
thank you.
It is a pleasure to hear you speak. The knowledge and then the way you articulate your thoughts, it's amazing. I want to go back to a question that Imani asked. It had to do with being a black male. Can you repeat that question for me? Do you remember how does being a black male affect you? Something like that.
Yes.
How does being a black male affect you?
Affect your life decisions, what you feel like you're able to do.
No.
You know, how does it hinder you in the world? Like, how do you feel as a black man in this world?
So
Yeah.
I'll put it. How do you feel as a black man in this world? And one of the things your response to her was that it does not affect you. Is that correct?
What was the question again?
Like how you don't subscribe.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so how do you feel about being a black man in America? And your response is it does not affect you. Is that correct?
No, I think from my understanding, you were saying how does it affect me, like personally?
Yeah, like
Okay.
does it hold you back? Does it
Yes.
make you feel small? Feel like you can't accomplish certain things? That's basically
Okay, and so does it affect you or does it not affect you?
In that capacity, it does not.
Does it affect you in any capacity?
I think naturally as a black male, it does affect me, but in terms of what I choose to subscribe to, and if I allow it to affect like my internal well-being, I don't, because I don't subscribe to it. Like,
Okay, so with the subscription to it, my question to you, I have one question and I'm gonna go to the next one. It's a yes or no. Have you ever been called a nigger?
probably more by blacks than anyone else. I can't say that I
Not
have.
nigga, the word that we use as a term of endearment. Nigger,
No.
the word that we've used as affliction. It was used to enslave us. It was used to demean us. Have you ever been called a nigger?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Have you ever dealt with police brutality?
No.
Okay. So my question to you is, when you see that happen to another black man, does that affect you?
Absolutely.
How does it affect you?
By seeing it portrayed in front of me, I think that it's very saddening, but also at the same time, I feel like all of these things have been done well before I was here and they're gonna happen afterwards. So me and my being, how do I ensure that those things no longer take place? I think that some people, they protest. I think some people, they tweet about it. But for me, it's being here today. I think it's how I influence other black men so that when they are pulled over, they're responding in a way to where it doesn't lead to certain things. So in the way that in which I show up may be different, but it still doesn't affect me in that way, I will say.
I find it interesting because you come from the South and you understand Civil War was North and South, right? With South being the ones that wanted to keep us oppressed, right? We're here in Atlanta. All of this was burnt down during the Civil War. There was nothing standing, right? This is by far one of the biggest platforms for the Civil War. You now live in the West Coast, right? California.
Yes.
It's interesting to me that when she asked the question about you being a black male and how it affects you, I assume adversely affects you. And you haven't had an adverse effect by it. But I challenge you on that. Because you may not yet have been called a nigger, and you may not yet have dealt with police brutality or seen it, but you don't have children, is that correct?
Absolutely.
So I challenge you to kind of think outside of, I create this box for myself. So I sit around with my friends and we do the kumbaya thing so we are unaffected or we don't really deal with it. I challenge you to go a little deeper than that. And the reason I do is because we need men like you to understand that it does and will affect you, whether it is inadvertent or not, because you are a black male.
I 100% agree. However, the framing of your question is not the same framing of the question that was asked of me. Those are two different things. So I completely agree with what you're saying, but in regards to what she asked, I still stand behind what I said.
Which is what? Just reiterate that for me, what you said.
Could you reiterate your question that you asked me?
It wasn't something I wrote down, it was something that came. But basically, I was saying.
Exactly. And do you feel like also being a black man in America, that has also created a stipulation on what you can do and how far you can go with your talents and your dreams?
I would say that I don't necessarily subscribe to that, but I do think that that's the way in which the world would want you to think.
Because I think you changed it a little bit when
Yeah.
I asked, and I was trying to stay on it because I knew I was going to address that.
Right.
Because I know we need men like him.
Yes.
But we also need men like him to understand the pain. And I just wanted to make sure
Oh, yeah,
that
absolutely.
he did. because I don't have to be smacked to sit here and see a white person smack him and not feel pain, not feel anger, and not feel like I want to get up and have his back. And I just wanted to make sure that I didn't misunderstand your response to her question, because it almost sounded like you keep yourself secluded from that type of reality, and I don't believe that based off the type of speaker that you are and the way you present yourself. It would be hard for me to make sure that you do understand it. So I just wanted to make sure that I understood.
Absolutely, and thank you for that. Like, I welcome all of your perspective. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that your question was around, like, as a black man and the things that I see, does that hinder me as a creative and like how I show up in the world? And I said no, because I don't subscribe to it. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that's what it was. That's what confused me when you said you don't subscribe to it. So that's why I wanted to make sure I understood.
I understand.
I'd like to know, at what age did you realize that you had a purpose here on earth, and if you knew it was given to you by God?
That's a great question. Ever since I was like very young, my great grandmother, she always used to tell me, like, you're gonna be something, like you're gonna be something. And honestly, I never knew what it meant. I always thought, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be smart. Like, that was the extent of it. But I had a spiritual awakening maybe around 2021, and there was a lot of different things that took place to where, like, I know for sure it was of God, and that, like, I had a purpose, and I have never departed from that because of that.
Very good answer. I love that. I
Thank
wish
you.
my son knew you at that age. Back then and there.
Thank you. Is there any other
Thank you.
questions? Okay. Well, JEREL, before you leave, is there anything that you want to leave on this stage, leave in Atlanta before you leave?
First off, I just want to say Imani really outdid herself in terms of making sure that I felt good when I arrived, from point A to point B, from when I got here to even being here right now. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for asking me to be a part of it. Thank you all for being here and holding space. Like, we're holding space with one another. I'm so appreciative to be challenged, you know, to open my perspective. So thank you for that as well. And yeah, this is phenomenal, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yes. Everyone wish JEREL safe travels once he leaves, because he flew in this morning and is leaving back tonight, straight back to LA. So he came for this event. I'm super grateful for this. Our next Wealth and Wellness will definitely probably be taking place in LA. So hopefully we can get some more faces out there that we see here today. But I truly appreciate every last one of you guys coming here, especially JEREL for flying in, man. I really do appreciate that. It does not go unnoticed. And I believe that once we share this footage, the ones who are watching live, we will change lives. I don't care if it's a couple, a few, 100, 1,000. As long as we're touching the community, that's what we're here for. And it's a lot of love in this room, and I appreciate everybody.
Same. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, anytime.
Of course.
Yes.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yes, yeah, we pass you the mic.
I was just thinking about the time.
Hello.
Imani too, so every time you say her name, I'm just like, yes. But one of the things that I guess I got the most from what you were saying was most important to be introspective and to just take the time to get to know yourself. One thing that was interesting that you said was you would go to nature when you're around a lot of people. If you're in the industry or if you're doing things and you don't have the opportunity to be away from people, like, I feel like I get overwhelmed at times with being in large groups all the time. I don't know if it's like just the energy or just so many people or just feeling a bunch of different things. If you're unable to take yourself to nature, if you're unable to take time for yourself because you have to do things for work or whatever, how do you navigate that?
For me, I'm going to say that it's non-negotiable. So it's like, I think that, and maybe the same for you as well, we show up for everyone in so many capacities to where we feel like we don't have that time for ourselves, but we have to learn how to say no. We have to learn how to have those boundaries so that even if it's taking myself out to eat for like 2 hours or so one day and doing exactly what I wanted to do with my time, I make sure that I do that. Or on a Sunday, I'm making sure that I'm cooking for myself and I'm speaking over my food. That's a form of me like pouring back into myself. Or I think I'll speak for myself at my age, like I take a lot of showers. However, when I bathe, like it's so ceremonial, like to actually take a bath and sit in like a bubble bath, it's like I'm releasing, I'm cleansing myself. I couldn't make it to the beach, but I can fill this tub up with water and Epsom salt and feel great, you know? So I make sure that I find things that truly allow me to pour back, even if it's for an hour, 20 minutes, meditation. Thank you.
Do you ever feel like you're missing out on opportunities when you take that time for yourself? Like if it's, I understand what you're saying, it's not negotiable, you have to take that time, but as you were just trying to get to a certain point, do you ever just feel like it's like you're gonna miss out on an opportunity if you take that time for yourself and maybe put that to the side?
I did, and I think that that's the way the world is designed to make us feel that way. But again, when you know God and you know yourself, whatever is for you is going to be for you.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you, JEREL.
Of course.
All right, y'all. We're gonna get
Yes, sir. You as well, bro.
Panel we
Thank you.
have.
Thank you. Thank you. Of course, bro. Thank you.
I connect with you before you leave.
Of course.
All right, we do have another team coming up.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you. Say that again.
I was just wondering, is you leaving after this or you staying for the whole thing?
I'm going to stay for a little bit longer, and then I'm going to leave, but I'll get your
That
info
was
now.
Damiana.
You very well spoken.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah,
Thank you.
this
Do
is
you have a
Passion
podcast?
Fruit.
I'm actually in the
podcasting and stuff.
Oh, snap.
I'm actually in the
Thank
process
y'all.
of doing one now. So like, if you get my info, I'll definitely.
All right, yeah.
Send it to you.
I feel like a lot of black men need more black men to listen to.
Yeah, bro. Of course. Yes.
Wow.
I'm with you, bro.
I don't know what he tried
Yes,
to do,
please.
but let me tell
Thank you,
we're
brother.
still at